Has your favorite IP gone off the rails? Are you tired of your favorite character being misused and mistreated? If so, Therapy is the show for you. We put your favorite characters and intellectual property on the couch to figure out the best way forward, with the hopes that everyone will love these characters as much as we do. Because sometimes we could all use a little therapy.
What is up, people? We are back. Welcome to Grown A Geeks. Another episode of our show Therapy, where we put your favorite IP on the couch to figure out not what's wrong with it, but how can we get people to love it as much as we do. Before we get into introducing our panel and introducing our IP that we're putting on the couch, I want you to go ahead and take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave a comment, or don't leave a comment yet because you don't even know what we're talking about. But later on, if a comment comes to you, make sure you leave one. And yeah, share it with your friends. And if you want to join our Facebook group, go ahead and click that QR code that's right over Teresa's shoulder so you can get more of this piping hot, fresh content coming from Grown A Geeks. All right, let's get to it. First, I'm going to introduce our panel. We're going to go in clockwise order, starting at the top. Teresa, how are you? How's it going?
I'm well. It is going well.
Awesome. RG, Mr. Fix It. Okay, we'll see how much you try to strip it down to the studs. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. I have a whole diatribe prepared. I have a Word document specifically for the night.
In this TED Talk, I will address.
You ain't even got to load up any
page PowerPoint. Will show you.
Gotta find no JPEGs for this show. I got you all set up, lined up. It'll be in a zip file.
Okay.
By the time this is over.
I appreciate that. And next to him, we have our leader, Elder Geek Sam. Sam, how goes it?
All goes well, man. Happy to be on the show tonight.
And I am Jeffrey, aka JPNT17. And tonight we are coming back for round 2 of Therapy on the MCU. So last year, we did a great episode on it. It's still on our YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go to Grown A Geeks YouTube channel. Check that episode out. Me, Sam, and Teresa gave our thoughts about what Marvel should do about the MCU and some of the frustrations people were having, some of the comments and backlash they were getting. You know, it wasn't quite the media darling it had always been in the past. And I think in the years since we've recorded that episode, we wanted to wait until we got a little further down the road, got some more projects before we came back and revisited this IP. So in the last year, we've had Fantastic Four First Steps that just came out that we all saw. I believe most of us on Grown A Geeks enjoyed it. It is coming out to some mixed reviews online. There seems to be a lot of focus on how much money it's making, how much it has fallen off after the first weekend, which is a whole conversation in and of itself that we'll probably address a little bit later. We've also had projects like Thunderbolts, Captain America, Brave New World, as well as more TV projects such as Daredevil and Agatha All Along. So let's go around and take a quick temperature check and see how everybody is feeling about some of the recent efforts of the MCU to kind of get things back on track and try to get that old thing back that they used to have with us. And, you know, because this is a show that is about positivity and solutions oriented, we're going to start with somebody who will probably have more of a positive spin on things. Teresa, just a quick temp check on, you know, where you are with the MCU right now, how you feel about just the recent projects and direction you feel things are going.
Temp check. I'm feeling pretty good about the projects, let's say, most of the projects. I'm a little confused by the way Marvel and the marketing team is treating some of them. I'm like, you know, if you want to release something, release it, market it, so we all know about it. We all have a chance to, see it and make our own judgments, but they're doing some strange things. But as far as what has been released since our last therapy session, I'm feeling good about it. I've enjoyed everything I've seen. And I do believe that slowing down with the number of properties, especially the TV properties, is a good idea. So they can focus and spend more time on finding suitable directors and casting. So we as fans don't have to do so much like studying to keep up and link everything together, follow all the links and everything. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm a little curious about the future, let's put it like that.
Curious about the future. All right, we'll make it a sandwich. We'll go to RG. We never know what he's gonna say. So RG, quick temp check on the MCU as it currently stands post Fantastic Four.
You see, you had all that good stuff. See this knife, perfectly balanced. You gotta have some balance, knobs. What's crazy is this, right? So when you think about it, the last couple of releases I have actually been pretty good on. I enjoyed Thunderbolts. I actually did enjoy Thunderbolts. Captain America. I actually did enjoy Captain America. To be honest, I enjoyed Ironheart for the most part. Like, I may not have liked the direction that they took her in, but I did enjoy the show. So one of my biggest pet peeves with movies is the writing. And Marvel has done a pretty good job with the writing in these last couple of releases. They kind of do something weird on the end type thing, like with Daredevil. It's just some things they just don't think close out as strong. Yeah. That's probably been the only weakness that they've had in recent events. So I'm hopeful that we'll at least get movies that I can fully enjoy again, that I can just fully embrace again, that can withstand all the criticism and withstand just me having, me personally just having little issues and little holes that they kind of leave out and inconsistencies with the writing and the storytelling. And as long as we get writing on par with what they're doing right now, I'm hopeful, because they've laid a very strong foundation, a very strong base for what, what's possible. I'm hopeful. Let's see what Doomsday and Secret Wars has for us.
All right, Sam, temp check.
I've always been a fan of Marvel's release schedule, always feeling like there was something to look forward to. And there is a part of me that is a little saddened by the idea of less content. But when they were drowning me in Marvel, it was suffering. And I can appreciate quality over quantity. Everything that comes out comic book isn't great. And I want to get back to not only being able to look forward to something coming out, but then enjoying it when it does come out, not having to force myself to like it or play the game I play in my head where I'm connecting dots to make it more enjoyable for myself, or going back to read an issue of something that can make me feel more familiar. And that'll be one of the things I address later. But I think if they can continue to put out quality content and focus just on the quality of what they put out, then I can handle 2-3 movies, 1 TV show, and some other special, like that. That'll be sufficient. We won't get into that overload that makes everybody feel like superhero fatigue, and because it's not superhero fatigue, it's quality fatigue.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I stand. And right now I feel like they're doing a good job getting back to, for lack of a better phrase, the basics of what makes the MCU work. And if they continue that route, then I think everything will just naturally flow and fall in place, and we'll be back on good terms.
Yeah,
we could be more than cordial again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of in the same place. I think, that little era where Kevin Feige had taken a step back, and they had also ramped up the amount of product that they were putting out. It was kind of like two actions that didn't really make sense if you take a step back. And I think with looking at the last few projects that came out, I like that we're getting back to individual movies and shows having kind of separate identities stylistically as well as thematically. And then those things, us having, that Avengers movie that will culminate and bring everything together. So for me, Kevin Feige being back is always a plus to me. Going into, our next topic, which is, do we think that Marvel has begun to right some of the missteps from the post Endgame era? Because when I went back and I watched the last episode that we did on this, I think we all were kind of on the same page about oversaturation. I think we were all on the same page about the idea that Marvel was still trying to, like, they had completed a story, but it felt like they were still trying to like build on top of it. And it's like, well, the house is done. Like, we don't need an extra guest, like you adding guest rooms and secret tunnels and this and that. It's like, this house is done. It's time we move forward and build the next one. And so I do think that lowering the number of projects coming out is a huge part of correcting that. I also think that what Kevin Feige had to say about emphasizing not having to see everything to keep up with the entire storyline, or like if I go see Avengers, not having to have seen Thunderbolts and Ironheart and all this stuff. I think that those were interesting comments coming from Kevin Feige, especially like in light of James Gunn kind of having said the same thing about how he's establishing the DCU. So I think for me, if I was going to talk about whether they're fixing the missteps of that early post Endgame, I would say they're doing a good job of kind of like trying to right the ship by slowing down and by things being connected under the umbrella of Marvel, but things not being mandatory homework. So let's go to RG, because I know you probably have the missteps well chronicled. And I'm curious to, and because you weren't on the last episode, I would be curious to hear what you feel like what you would think like one of the bigger missteps is, and whether you feel like they've kind of been trying to like right that ship, or if they've even focused on that at all to you.
Right. The biggest misstep is easily for me just no consistent bad villain. No baddie. There's no ominous person lurking in the future for me to really be concerned about is going to actually be a threat. They have a bad habit of just consistently creating too many world-ending villains that just don't end the world, right? And that is the area where they've really been, they just haven't nailed it. They haven't figured that out. They haven't understood that, sometimes you gotta dial it down some. Just give us some good street level or local, you gotta have to make the threat feel local. This is something that Superman kind of did pretty good, is that despite the fact that even though the villain seemed like maybe he would be world-ending, like it could be world-ending, but you still kind of felt grounded in Metropolis and what was going on in Metropolis and what was happening with the people of that city. That's what Marvel has to kind of do again, is kind of make it so that the story is a little bit more centrally located. I feel like somewhat they're trying to do that a bit. They still haven't got that down 100%. So that's one of the things I'm hoping. Well, I mean, obviously not in something like Doomsday or that's probably going to be world-ending again. We're going to have to see what they do. Yeah, we're going to have to see what they do with Doom. It's really, really all up to how well they present Doom and explain his level of power. You know what I'm saying? How they scale his power, and then who they have going up against him. So, because you already had somebody, you already had a team of 4 people send back Galactus. And maybe they didn't beat his ass, but typically they shouldn't be able to beat Galactus. So, not like that. So,
I mean,
that's
baby Galactus.
Right? Yeah.
He simply his avatar.
We got the kaiju.
He gonna eat his way back through the universe and come back big.
He's only a million light years away. That's say less. What's a god to a llama? So
all right, cool. So the big bad is kind of what you're looking at as the misstep, and obviously agree. Doom is up in the air. I mean, we know Robert Downey Jr. can act, but we don't necessarily know if people are going to respond to how they characterize Doom. We tried it with Kang, and he got beat by ants and turned into spaghetti by the timeline and all that kind of stuff. And they talking about potentially bringing him back, and who knows who else may show up once we go to some of these other universes. So that big bad aspect is fascinating. We talked about that on the last episode, where I kind of was like, I felt as though they were focusing too much on trying to tell us who the next big bad was before they even told us who the heroes are. And Marvel is very much in my opinion, business built more on heroes than on the villains. versus like a DC where everybody loves Joker, everybody loves Batman's Rogues Gallery. Like, you don't, outside of like a Spider-Man or like an X-Men who we haven't seen yet, Marvel is more hero focused and less focused on like glamorizing the villains. But I do think that because they've already set up this idea with Thanos of like this overarching existential threat that we're eventually working towards, it probably is like an expectation of the viewer. People going to see the movie, they got an expectation to see or at least allude to some big bad, which I think they did in Fantastic Four pretty well at the very end. So yeah, that's interesting. Sam, have they begun to right some of the missteps from the early post-Endgame MCU in your opinion?
I would say yes. It took them a while to get there, but the first step to solving a problem is recognizing and admitting there's a problem. And at least Kevin Feige coming out and saying, it's too much. I was hands off. We're going to fix that. We're going to focus in on more quality, less quantity, coming out and saying that out loud at least says they recognize it's not what it was. And by doing that, we now can at least be optimistic that something can and will change. If we can get away from post-credit scenes that don't mean anything, that have no merit, that lead nowhere. In Thunderbolts, in Fantastic Four, we saw Thunderbolts and we saw a post-credit scene that had the Fantastic Four. And the next movie was Fantastic Four. And so doing that brings us back to one of the things that I think a lot of people did enjoy about the MCU was the fact that it was, in fact, connected. And if you keep the TV shows as one-offs or spotlights, if you will, as extra gravy on your biscuit, you know what I'm saying? Just something more, then that allows you to maybe introduce something, but not make it required viewing. That's where it starts to get difficult for people, because anybody that's trying, like my brother actually asked me the other day about what was the Spider-Man movie that was in the MCU, So we got to talk about it. And he was like, man, one day I got to go back and watch all those movies. I hadn't seen them. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, bro, that's a lot of movies that you got to watch. Like, what do you mean? Like, and so I was like, how many have you seen? And so, of course, we talked about it. And then he was saying, like, which way would be the best way to watch it? I was like, well, there's two ways you can watch it now that everything is out. Everything before Endgame, you can watch it one of two ways. You can watch it chronologically in order by the events as they took place. There's a very easy guide to find that. Or you can watch it by release. Watch it the way everybody else watched it when stuff came out. My brother is not the geek that I am. I want him to watch it chronologically. So as he finishes this movie, the information from that movie carries over into the next movie he watches, and he'll be able to keep up. He won't remember that one scene where that one guy did that one thing. He's not going to remember that.
Yeah.
When Marvel got to the point where you kind of had to watch this TV show and see these three movies in order to even enjoy what was on screen, I think that took a lot away from it, because some of the things that made us not attracted, but some of the things that caused us to like these characters or have any kind of emotional attachment to these characters may have been in a TV show. You may not care about Miss Marvel if you did not watch that show. When you go to watch the Marvels, she's just an annoying kid. You don't realize it's because she really is having a true fangirl moment. You're with her in that moment when she meets Captain Marvel, because you know who her hero is and how she looks up to her. And now she's on a team. So you get to see that, and it makes that part a little bit easier to digest and enjoy. If you didn't watch that show, it wasn't required, but you didn't get as much out of the movie as a result. The way they introduced Tiana Paris's character, she was just there and she got powers.
Yeah, if you didn't see WandaVision.
If you didn't watch WandaVision, you're like, okay, who is she? And because
like, the little girl from the first one,
right? You know what I'm saying? It's like it hadn't been that long, but then of course, now you got to explain. Well, it's actually the year such and such in the movies, because remember they had the 5-year time jump. When Marvel gets back to here's this movie, here's this story, this information carries into this, and they can keep it connected properly, I think it makes for a more enjoyable overall. And it does appear that is the pattern that they're starting to move in.
Yeah. That's an interesting point about the Marvels, because like I think we've had a lot of conversations about how I think that movie got like an unfair rep from the audience. And yes, a lot of it was like misogyny and racism and Brie Larson hate. But I do think, like, hearing you talk about that, it is like, okay, two of the main characters, most of their story and their character was fleshed out in a TV show. And then when they come into that movie, it's almost like that conversation me and Sam had years ago about Batman v Superman, where it's like, well, I filled in a lot of the gaps with comic book knowledge. Well, even filling in MCU gaps with TV show knowledge isn't fair, because if all you watch is the movies and you didn't watch WandaVision and you didn't even know to watch WandaVision to be prepared for the Marvels, because like, what the hell does Wanda have to do with the Marvels?
Exactly.
It doesn't make like a ton of sense. But then, you know, Tiana Paris walks in and she's bringing all this emotional baggage from the blip and Carol going away and all this other stuff like that, that if you don't know anything about that, it's like, why is she being so rude to Captain Marvel? Why isn't she like happy to see her like auntie? But it's like, am I really going to go back and watch all of WandaVision to get to the bottom of that? Or am I going to wait until they have the emotional come to Jesus conversation where she like explains how hurt she was by Carol going away? And same thing with Miss Marvel as well. Like, so I think that's an interesting point to bring up, that like, I think Marvel thought that they let the shows do a lot of heavy lifting for filling in gaps in some of the movies, and everybody didn't listen to the B-sides. Some people just listened to the singles and that was it. So that's an interesting point. Teresa, what do you feel about the missteps of the early missteps? Are they on more sure footing for you right now?
Heavy.
No, I think they're on more sure footing, but it's kind of to me, it's kind of a catch-22. I do believe that they were, that during and post-COVID era of just like saturation, maybe oversaturation. To me, there was a little bit of good that came out of that. It was definitely too much, and the quality was not there. But every time you turn around, there was something new to watch, and me.
That's right up your alley.
Happy about it. So now there isn't as much. I think the quality is better, but I'm still, I didn't have superhero fatigue. I never get superhero fatigue, because that's my favorite genre of movie. It's fantasy with the subheading of superhero. So somebody's got some powers, I'm gonna watch it, or at least I'm gonna try. So now that we don't have as much, like right now, when I think about the fact that we're not getting another movie until this time next year, I'm kind of
like, what am I doing with myself for a year?
Exactly, slipping into a dark place. But I definitely,
I got some more of that MCU.
Exactly. So I mean, they definitely needed to slow it down and to focus on the quality instead of the quantity. So I do believe they're doing that, and it's kind of being beneficial. But yeah, I need something to watch.
Yeah.
Understood.
No, yeah. And I mean, there will be shows. I think Wonder Man and a few other things will be out before the next Spider-Man movie. But
Right.
I do feel I feel what you're saying in terms of like the pace of like we ramped all the way up to we doing 90 in the fast lane, and now we just got off the freeway and we doing 30, and it feels like we stuck in molasses.
Exactly.
But
I got whiplash.
that's how you keep from getting a ticket. I think Marvel racked up a bunch of tickets trying to just like speed down that highway, and it was like, hold on, player, like.
And I have to remember too that Marvel, it's not there for me. It's not all about what's gonna make Teresa happy.
Right. Kevin Feige be hitting my line like, so what do you want next?
Exactly.
Like,
I wish he would.
Be waiting for that call too. Like, come on, bro. Still ain't called.
Yeah.
I sent you emails.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like just slowing down is probably the biggest misstep. I think one thing I said in the last episode was like focusing on like who is this new group of heroes that we're supposed to like rally behind, and I think they've done a better job of focusing on that. I think once you start giving, I know everybody loved Loki, but once you start giving like Loki a show, and then the main villain is in the Loki show, and like we're trying to turn Loki into like MCU Joker, which it's not. he's a likable character for some people, but like that's just not what Marvel's about. So it feels weird when you're trying to like, you know, do the thing RG hates, which is like have this villain that's like redeemable. Like where is the like big bad? Like even like a Galactus, right? Like all he wants to do is take their baby and eat planets.
Eat your
And
planet.
Okay.
there's no sad sob story about how he got turned into Galactus and who gave him that. Like I don't care about all that.
Right, you're not gonna talk this nigga out of it.
Right. This is an existential threat, and we need our heroes to come through and do it. And same thing kind of with Thunderbolts, right? Sentry becomes this like existential threat, and we need our heroes to figure out a way through it. Now, Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts solve the problem in two completely different ways. But then we also have in Captain America Brave New World, not as like world ending of a threat, but someone who poses a threat in a way that if this person got with the right villain as like a henchman, now this becomes much more dangerous on a larger scale. But the focus really was, let's get our new Captain Falcon. Let's get this Thunderbolts team who's going to be, you know, they're going to give us the you're not the guy to make the sacrifice moment that we had with Tony and Sam. Now we're going to have that kind of conflict and contention where the Earth heroes have to. And I'm sure once Reed Richards shows up in all his smug intelligence-ness, there's going to be even more of that. So I personally feel like the biggest misstep they had was like they were trying to introduce us to all these people who we don't really care about that ain't coming back. RIP Eternals. I think that them focusing on the heroes and showing us who we're supposed to be rooting for is correcting that misstep versus like trying to show us who we're supposed to be scared of, and then you just giving us any old body that's going to solve the problem. As much as I love Paul Rudd, outside of an Avengers movie, all I want to see him do is heist stuff, because that's what he is. Scott Lang is a thief. That's what he's good at. Give me some. Where's Randall Park? Like, why is that relationship like close up? Like, show me Randall Park. I learned close up magic, so we could be like, you know what I mean? That's the heart of Ant-Man. Not we gonna fight Kang. Like, huh? With ants? All right, cool, Marvel. Y'all just trying to give us anything at this point. So I think I think that they did take a step back and say, you know, people not just gonna eat anything now. Like we gotta do a little bit better on our presentation. It kind of turned into like McDonald's, where it was just like we just trying to serve as many burgers as possible. And they had to realize like everybody who watches Marvel is not a comic book fan. So they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Some people are movie fans, and you've made some great movies that happen to be about comic book characters. But then when people come in and they're coming in for a good movie, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt because it's about superheroes. Like we will, because we love superheroes and we want to see. So we might be a little more lenient about our critique of it. You know, people who vote for the Oscars and have watch the real Oscar movies, they're not about to sit down and be like, well, you know, Kevin Feige was this, like, man, this movie was trash. And it is what it is. Like,
if they even watch it.
All right, so my next question for the group, and we're gonna start with Sam. What do you feel is the biggest hurdle the MCU has going forward? Like, I feel like, you know, they went to the highest of the highs. They kind of stumbled. They had a little bit of a fall off. They still got, you know, people rocking hard with them. And, you know, they still obviously have a lot of traction in terms of projects that they want to make and are going to make moving forward. What do you feel like is going to be one of the biggest hurdles that they're facing moving forward with these projects? We can give just one.
I think Marvel is unfortunately a victim of their own success, and until they have enough content post Endgame to hold people's attention and get people excited for the future, I think that is the biggest challenge they have as far as trying to retain their current fans while still maybe looking to acquire new fans. Everybody who's excited for Secret Wars and Doomsday have probably been on this first part of the journey. They've done the homework. They've seen what is it now, 29 movies. You know, they've watched all those movies. They've watched all the movies, all the shows, the cartoons. You know, they've done it. So they would be the ones who are quickly looking for us to get back to that point. But what allowed us to get to Endgame was the quality of the movies that were coming out at the time. And because that quality took a dip for volume, they have to get back to having enough of the quantity or have enough of the quality to start to build that excitement up again. Thunderbolts came along and it really did. In a rewatch, it really does feel like an Avengers movie because we have some connection to all of these characters already. We're not really being introduced to anybody in the movie. And mind you, if you've gone, like I said, if you've done the homework and you've seen everything, you know who all of these people are. Because of that, when you see them team up for the first time, it does have that Avengers-esque quality. And so Thunderbolts had the benefit of a little bit of member berries, but also some interesting characters. Fantastic Four, we just wanted a good Fantastic Four movie. If it didn't suck, we were happy with that. So what comes next, you know, the next movie's coming, it's another Spider-Man movie. So we already have a set amount of expectation for that. And then we get right into the next big things. So not having that build up, we're really just riding the coattails of Avengers, Endgame, and Infinity War. It's really what they're doing with Secret Wars and Doomsday. It will be a while before, and as much as I'm looking forward to those two movies, because they kind of connect to what was, especially with the bringing back of Robert Downey Jr., because of course now I'm like, you got to make that make sense. You got to explain that. How is that happening? And so until we get to a point where we can close off that chapter completely and start anew with X-Men and, you know, whatever they're going to do for the new Avengers and all new Avengers, or however they choose to do Avengers with a Z, you know, however they choose to move forward in that regard, that's when the MCU as a whole is going to get back to where it was. Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man 2, you know, like we had all of these movies, boom, 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 Avengers, and then Age of Ultron. And then we had like sequels and, you know, more, and it was just feeding us good content for the most part. There were one or two duds, but for the most part, they were just feeding us all of this good content. And we got really attached to those characters. When we get to Secret Wars, when we get to Doomsday, like, I don't know that I'm already attached to the Fantastic Four. So whatever they got happening in Doomsday and Secret War, okay, how does that carry forward? But if you tell me something's going to happen to Ant-Man, or, you know, because like we saw the list of chairs and we see all the people who are returning, again, we're kind of leaning on that nostalgia. So until they have an opportunity to truly develop new content of quality, that's, you know, it's going to be hard for them not to still kind of be in a slump. It can be on the upward rise of that slump, but to me, it still feels like they're digging themselves out of the hole they created. And that's the funny part.
All right, Teresa, biggest hurdle.
Thank you for coming to me next so I can remember what I was going to say. My fear is that Marvel is trying to make another Infinity War and Endgame. And I don't know that they made the first Infinity War and Endgame on purpose. I don't know that they had the impact that they did because Marvel planned it that way. And I think that they are trying to do it again. And I don't know if it would succeed if they did.
Man,
I
that's
feel
just
like
lightning in a bottle.
like Sam said, for Infinity War and Endgame, you had all of that content leading up to it. So we have this roster of all the heroes that ended up coming back for those two movies. But it's not like we were keeping score back then.
Right.
And so when it happened, and plus, like with Black Panther had such an impact on not just superhero fans, but on movie fans, that you got some carryover from newly converted Marvel fans into Infinity War and Endgame. Now, like Sam also mentioned, the chairs, you know, all the chairs, you got all of these A-list and all of these stars that they're telling us they're going to bring together for Secret War and Doomsday. And I just feel like they're trying to build it up into what they did before. And I don't know that they did that on purpose. I feel like there is a very real possibility that it could be too much. Because, you know, you got all of your legacy Avengers, and you got all your Thunderbolts and all your Fantastic Four, damn near all the X-Men. You have the multiverse, so you may have different versions of all those people as well. Here, I'm looking forward to it. Again, as Sam said, and with us being big Marvel fans, big superhero movie fans, I am definitely looking forward to it. But I feel like they might be hyping themselves up, hyping us up, and it may end up being a bit of a letdown because I still don't. As excited as I am to see all of those people in one movie, I still don't really. I don't know how you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know, because they did like what 30 something chairs already.
Yeah.
But there were people that they didn't announce, but you know they're going to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And there is a possibility that it won't go over as well as they think it will.
Yeah, like the Infinity Saga was like this beautiful craftsman home that was built, you know, the foundation was laid by hand.
Right. Right.
And then this feel like these neighborhoods that's popping up around me, like, damn, they built 5 houses since
exactly. They bring the rooms in already built and they just snap them together like Legos.
That's them houses that be driving down the freeway on the back of the truck.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, y'all, okay, yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. RG. I know you got one for this one.
You know something? She stole my idea.
Who stole it?
You stole my idea.
Oh,
it was. I think that's the biggest hurdle.
I'm sure
you
got another problem somewhere on the list.
I know, right? You know something? The biggest hurdle that they have is you got to focus on the storytelling. You got to focus on less on the spectacle and more on focusing on giving us good characters. Phase 1 gave us good characters. Fuck whether or not the movies were that good. I mean, Thor 1 wasn't all that great. Captain America 1 wasn't that good of a movie. Thor: The Dark World wasn't that good of a movie.
It was like now Thor 2. Thor 1 was okay.
I mean, it was okay, but I mean, it wasn't like, oh my God, this is so epic, right?
Thor is a
level.
Thor is a 2-star franchise at best. If you actually like look at the culmination of all of his solo movies, it's outside what he did Ragnarok. Outside of his movies. Well,
I didn't like Ragnarok, so I can't even give it any props.
Oh, see, I love Ragnarok.
I was gonna say Ragnarok around Teresa. Her and Taika Waititi got beef.
Ooh.
I can understand why though. I can understand why.
It's on site.
I understand why. But yeah, they just have to. Those for Phase 1 movies just gave us good characters that we watched. We watched the arc. We got to see the arc, and ultimately, seeing a character arc is really what makes a movie and what makes a franchise compelling. It's you grow with the characters. Give us characters we can grow with. You know, I don't know whether or not it was intentional or not, but it sure as hell seemed like it was. The way y'all ended those damn movies, and you have all those lines. Set up, payoff. Set up, payoff. That is what makes a movie satisfying, is that you set something up, you drop some little clue somewhere early, and you give it to us later. If you focus on doing that, we'll be all right. We'll make it. We'll make it. We'll be okay. You know, I don't need to, Avengers assemble. I'm not gonna get that moment again. We're not gonna get it again. It's not gonna happen. That's epic. That's that's epic. You only supposed to get that one.
Because like right now, it's like, who are the Avengers?
Right.
We got an Avengers movie coming out. Who are the Avengers?
No, don't know. Just slow down, shorty. Slow down. You don't have to get us hooked in on this big epic conglomeration of all these, all these stars and all these heroes, and do the callbacks and the chair thing, and it's like, come on, man, there's no way you're going to make it good. I'm actually looking for being disappointed. And then it's the way they handle it after being told or getting sort of that reception or that vibe from the audience, that they don't turn around and go, let's slow this down a little bit. So that's the biggest hurdle, is that they're going to have to figure out how to give us some compelling characters. Give us some characters that we can actually grow with and focus on them, and stop just trying to give us, let's see how many minutes of view time they get and how many minutes of view time they get, and then go, okay, well, they got a lot of replays on Disney Plus, so you get a movie. Don't do it that way. Just put some eggheads in a room, figure it out, sit there for, have a retreat, go someplace nice. Just give yourself a good outline of where you want this to go, and then just stick with it. Don't pay attention to the haters like me.
Now, I do think it's interesting, the idea of whether or not Marvel did it on purpose. I will say I do think that the in-game final scene was earned.
Absolutely.
I said before, that's the only time I've ever been in the theater and the people started clapping and cheering, and I didn't care because I'm not one of those don't cheer at a movie screen. It's weird, but I get it. Once when Chadwick walked through that portal and then Falcon flew through the portal, and I was like, okay, bring the black people out first. I like that. But that's a culmination of the journey that we went on with all those characters. Even somebody who people like to make fun of, like Sam Wilson. Still, when he died in Endgame, we felt something because that was Captain America's basically tether to the modern world. He's the person who helped him get reacclimated. We've been on this journey with him, Black Panther, everybody who we all felt a loss when we came out of Infinity War. Yeah. That was not just because they died in that movie, but it's they died in that movie and we lost the character that we had gone on a long ride with. We had been on other missions, been on other things with them more than once. And so I think that it is fascinating, the concept of they're trying to microwave that kind of reaction again, because that first Avengers was 6 characters. And I feel at the point we're at right now, we should be kind of coming up to the first Avengers cycle, which is we've had a few movies. Now the people who we've had in movies are meeting up. But now, because everybody's in different universes, we got to create some cosmic altering multi-universal type thing. Right. So I do think that idea of kind of trying to microwave and get to Endgame before these characters have built up the emotional cachet with the audience to make us care whether or not they die or not is interesting. And I think for me, the biggest hurdle is Disney Plus on 2 fronts. One, you got to make shows because you got Disney is going to require it of you. And so you have to figure out what characters get shows, what characters get movies, what characters from the shows are going to show up in the movies, what characters from the movies are going to show up in the shows. Because you cannot do what you did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just let them be the ugly red-headed stepchild off to the side and you might see Thor's hammer or Captain or Nick Fury shows up in 1 or 2 episodes, and we supposed to believe this happening in the Marvel universe, and they actually are stopping world-ending threats, and no real superheroes ever show up. So in a Daredevil or in how Charlie Cox shows up as Spider-Man's lawyer in the movie, that makes sense. How Hulk shows up in She-Hulk, even though everybody ain't like She-Hulk, but Hulk showing up in She-Hulk makes sense. That has to be if you want us to believe this is a continuous universe, that has to be a 2-way street. Now, I need to be a toll road, and there need to be limited access on how people travel back and forth across that road. But you have to have some sort of back and forth, and these characters kind of showing up here and there, and you have to still be able to do the exposition of this is who this character is, just in case you didn't see their show or their movie. I think with Ironheart, they did a good job of even though we know this character from Wakanda Forever, if you did not watch Wakanda Forever, we're not going all the way back to the beginning of Riri Williams, but the way we're telling her story, you're getting to know her in the same way that people who saw her in Wakanda Forever are getting to know her. They're gonna have, but that's a fine line. That's a RG with the knife. That's a tough balancing act. The other problem that I think they're gonna have with Disney Plus is the second week numbers are the second week numbers because people are I'll just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. I don't think. Plus, I think post COVID, post cheap entertainment systems, people have nice TVs, nice sound systems. People got regular houses with theater rooms in it. When it come on Disney Plus, I'll watch it in the comfort of my own home with the popcorn I like to pop and the gourmet meal I like. You know what I mean? Like I can pause it, I can go to the, I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
I
And
could blow up a movie screen in my backyard.
back in the day, Marvel movie come out, you're not getting the Blu-ray till 9 months later. It's not coming on Netflix till a year later. And
Right.
now, and because the projects were so spaced out, you could do that. Because if you say Avengers not coming back till next year in the movie theater, but it's not coming on Netflix till 10 months from now, you don't have that same sense of urgency as opposed to like, well, if they don't see Guardians 3, they're not gonna get Quantumanium, so we got to put Guardians 3 on Disney Plus 2 weeks after it's out of the theater. Yeah, of course you're gonna lose a majority of your box office revenue and your people going out to see it, because that literally is the sentiment. If people are not coming out of it with like rave reviews, which that's a whole other thing, the average consumer who's not a superhero head, who doesn't care about avoiding spoilers, who doesn't need to be the first, who's not filming a podcast with their friends where you got to put some up on YouTube within 7 days, like there's no obligation to see it, because and that's the gift and curse of like your own streaming service. Are you doing this in a way that still benefits the movie going experience? Because personally, like, yes, you could wait for Fantastic Four to see it on TV, but I personally thought visually it was very impressive on the big screen. All the outer space stuff, Johnny flying into space, all that stuff like that. I would feel like I missed out if seeing that just on the 75-inch TV that I got at home. It ain't no little TV, but it ain't a movie screen. You know what I mean?
IMAX.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I remember when they were telling everybody about Disney Plus, and they were like, it's so exciting because we're going to put all our archival stuff on there. And then after like a month, everybody was like, where's the new stuff? And so then everybody had to get into like cranking out new stuff mode, and they had to shorten the timeline on when they were putting stuff out. And I think they partially didn't mind shortening the timeline because it's like, well, still our money coming to our company, even if we put it on our thing. But I don't think that they realized how much they were cannibalizing themselves, because people really would just be like, I'll watch this shit on TV, bro. Like I don't gotta be in the theater with like a bunch of people coughing on me and smelling like corn chips. You know what I mean? Like, and the price of movie tickets. If I got a family of 4, like I had to spend like $120 to go to see a movie.
For real.
Comfortably.
Yeah.
What's the perks of being a spinster?
Right.
We gotta pay for one person.
Right. That's the perks of my wife not caring and my son being 7.
One adult, one child.
Like you two.
I've tried to get away with that, but the wife is just a little too tall. They're not falling for it.
Ouch.
Not much too tall.
Not much. That's why I be trying it still. I be trying it. I be like, stand over there. I'm gonna go get the tickets. It doesn't work.
All right. So this is a solutions oriented show.
Right.
So usually I'm like, what would be one thing you would fix? But I wanted to flip it a little bit because we did that last time. We can keep it fresh so when people go watch the other one, it ain't the same thing that we saying this time. Like if Kevin Feige walked into the room and was like, Teresa, RG, Sam, tell me one thing you feel like I need to know or need to think about or do in dealing with the MCU. What would you say to Kevin Feige? I'm gonna start with.
No, you make sure I'm last because
I'm gonna start with RG.
I ain't got one thing. I got like multiple things, man. That's just tough.
Pick one.
But can I speed up?
Pick one, and as we move through them, at the end, if we want to add in some more, we can add in some more.
All right.
At the very least, top 3.
If I gotta tell him one thing, it's just slow down.
But he already slowing down. He already slowing down.
But I'm saying, do that then.
Don't slow down more though.
No, not slow down more. Just Give me a bad guy, please. Just give us a fucking bad guy.
A bad guy.
Give us a bad guy. Give us.
If you could pick the bad guy, if you could pick the bad guy for this next round of the MCU, you sticking with Doom?
Yes, I'm sticking with Doom. I think you have Doom be a multiversal threat, right? You make him a multiversal threat, right? You have a whole thing like he's the reason why you put the X-Men and in a universe and hit two birds with one stone. You put Monica Rambeau, let her go there, and you know that's the universe she popped in, the X-Men universe. But then somehow you have Doom tied into that universe for a reason, right? He's searching for something in that universe. And then send someone to 616. And then we get to see how he maneuvers in 828. If you make him multiversal, which I think that's what they're probably going to do, given the way they had him interact with Franklin, he can tie in. And Doom is one of those dudes who has that type of Thanos level resolve. He's definitely like, I want the power. I want all of this. You're not going to talk me out of this shit. No, this is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to be. I'm always going to move where in some way I'm on top. I'm always scheming. I might act like I'm cool with you, but at the end, I'm going to take your shit. He's always a threat. And I like the fact that he's always a threat. And I feel there's a lot of opportunities to give him to show his ruthlessness. I want a ruthless villain. I want to hate him. If you hate him, that's what makes the hero shine. When you have a villain who you know is an unstoppable force, then that hero being that immovable object stands out just that much more. So keep the villains bad. I don't want them at the end seeing the light.
Sorry. Doom is sorry. Doom apologizes.
Oh. There's going to be a shootout at the movie theater. I know. And that happens. I'm going to be like, don't take this personal. That screen's getting lit up. Come on, Kevin.
All right.
Come on.
So focus on Dr. Doom being ruthless and multiversal.
Yes.
Very specific, but very concrete. All right, Sam, because Teresa said she wanted to go last. One thing, Kevin Feige, you and him in a room. What are you saying?
Mano y mano.
X-Men. Figure out how to bring the X-Men to the MCU quickly. While people are excited about it, while we are running on the excitement of Deadpool and Wolverine, while it still comes up as recommended viewing on Disney Plus, while everybody's still hype about, and I get that there's a little bit of, there's production and this and that, but get the writers on X-Men, because as we've kind of hinted towards, Secret Wars, Doomsday, okay, is that Endgame and Infinity War? Probably not. But these are the next two big movies. So knowing that we have to have something past that, and I liked what RG just said a moment ago, if you have Doom doing the multiverse bit, maybe he's jumping back and forth, because we know that the Fantastic Four is on 838 or 828, whichever one it was, and MCU is 616. And Spider-Verse is over here and 99999 and whatnot. Like, we have I think the average movie-going public, especially the ones who are going to see these movies, have enough of a grasp of concept of multiverse to bring those characters into the void. Because I feel like if we're going to get a abbreviated battle war, just like we got an abbreviated Civil War, but it fit within the confines of the MCU. For the people who have read the comics and are in the know, or even those people, if you haven't done so, I'm going to recommend grab Secret Wars, read through it. It's a fantastic read, and you kind of get an idea of where we're going and what's coming, and you can see why we can still be excited about it, because we saw a lot of chairs. All them chairs ain't going to make. When you have that story building, we have multiverse access, take advantage of it. Strike while the iron's hot, get to the X-Men. Let Doom be the tether that makes it possible. He pointed out in WandaVision, you did an X-Men cameo there, of all places, back then, primarily because you had just acquired the rights and you could, but do something with that. It's what the people want, and it gives you an opportunity to give us something new and fresh. And that's what we need. because all the characters we know these people. We know who those chairs are. Ain't no surprises there. These are the same people we've been watching, been following. So there's enough of, these old friends that we hanging. This is like going to a high school reunion. You know these people, and you was cool with some of them. You remember everybody, and since it's been some time, sure, you don't mind seeing them. But them people over there, I don't know them people. I want to go meet those people. Those are the interesting people, and that's what I think they need to do. That would be my conversation with Kevin Feige. Who do we need to get to write this? What? Let's think of a story. Where are we trying to go? Are we looking to maybe do Avengers versus X-Men? What would it take to get there? That would be my conversation with Kevin Feige.
All right. Teresa, you want me to go or you want to go?
I can go while I have an idea of something to say. My advice would be, don't try to reinvent the wheel. With the wheel being Endgame, do not try to make another Endgame. Focus on making a good movie. Get a good script, a good director. Since you got 30 chairs worth of people, and a bunch more that you're going to bring in, use what you have to make a good movie without trying to make another Endgame, because you can't do it. I mean, you can make something just as good, absolutely, something just as epic, but you can't make another Endgame.
Yeah.
Preach.
You never shock me twice.
Yeah.
You have to shock me differently. Can't be shocked the same way.
Exactly.
You have to shock me a different way.
This has been interesting, because I think for me, I think that my conversation with Kevin Feige would be about not being
Channing Tatum as getting.
Hey, look,
more black people.
Look, they had the security had to come get me if I started talking about Channing Tatum. So I ain't even gonna bring him. I'm not gonna waste my shot talking about that. Hopefully he's one of them chairs that gets blown away very early off in this next saga, because but I
make a mental note about the chairs. I want to talk about that again later.
My comment would be, even though yes we are multiversal, don't be in a huge rush to combine these universes into a singular universe. I think one of the things that I've liked the most about the MCU is how all of the movies had these kind of stylistic identities, where Captain America was kind of like your Born Identity, spy, action thriller movies. Ant-Man's your heist movie. Thor has this Shakespearean element to it / Ben-Hur, all those types of movies. I think that when I looked at Fantastic Four, it gave me that same feel where I'm like, okay, this is a perspective. This is a point of view on these characters. This is its own separate thing. While yes, it's part of the MCU because it's superheroes, and I know that, I'm not looking at this and wondering why Captain America is not showing up. Ain't no Captain America on this world. And I think one of the issues people run into is if the X-Men just show up out of nowhere, where have they been? Where were they during the Battle of New York? Where were they during the Endgame battle? It's all right, cool. So we already know they on another planet somewhere. They're in another universe. We've seen that with Monica Rambeau. We also saw, in Multiverse of Madness, there's different. Wanda's the same everywhere, but some places she's a mutant, some places she's just a child of chaos. Whatever she is, she still got the same powers, etc. So I think that what I would be most interested in seeing is, before we merge universes, make me care about them. I got to a place with that Fantastic Four movie where it was I care about this world, because you've done a good job of showing me the Fantastic Four are good and pure heroes who the world has come to trust because they've never failed. And this movie was their first brush with almost failure, their first brush with making a selfish decision that could put the people of the world in peril, their first brush with the people of the world not trusting them. I found that aspect of the movie and the relationship of the heroes to the public to be very, very fascinating. And then I think when you look at characters like the X-Men's relationship with the public, it's the complete opposite of that. And they're in a different world. I would be interested in seeing that. separate from trying to figure out how that fits with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four and this and that. It's like, well, show me the MCU's perception of mutants, who they are, and how the world interacts with them. Because we have Fantastic Four in this world where it's like all hunky dory, everybody loves them. We have the regular MCU that we've been in this whole time where there's mixed feelings. People love Iron Man, people love Captain America, but then these things happen and it's split. It's like 50-50. The Sokovia Accords, all that stuff. They were fugitives, yada yada. Like, we've done the complicated thing. Now, what is it like on a world where, like, the people with powers, no matter how many people they actually help, the general public sees them as bad guys and they're fighting for their rights. And they're caught in the middle of the public who they want to help and other mutants like Magneto and the Brotherhood who are like, y'all ain't got no love. The East Coast ain't got no love for Snoop Dogg and Death Row. You know what I mean? So that's an aspect, and that's a relationship between hero and public that the MCU has yet to explore. And I think when I saw all 30 of them chairs, the only thing that gave me a little hope was that in my mind, there's no way in hell like James Marsden is going to be our Cyclops for real moving forward. I mean, They joke about Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine till he's 90, but let's be real. He cannot be, like, he's not Wolverine for real. He cannot be our Wolverine moving forward into
Logan at this point.
The MCU. You know what I mean? Yeah,
old man
Logan. So my thing would be on the slow down tip, being specific about what we slow down about. Slow down on merging things, and the same way we got to know Iron Man through Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3 before Endgame. Because to me, the merging of the universes into one, and Fantastic Four and X-Men and the Avengers having to share a world. Now, I'm fine with people going back and forth across worlds, like Doom being interdimensional. We've already seen through the TVA, there's devices where people can go across universes. I'm fine with people being interdimensional travelers, but the merging of all of those into one, I think that needs to be something that we like build up to. Because the first time they meet can't be when their universes are merging. So whoever was on the Fantastic Four ship at the end of Thunderbolts, I hope that's not a harbinger of like these two worlds about to combine and whoever's left is who's left. That would be my advice, because let us get to know these, because like you said, Sam, X-Men. Let us get to know who the new X-Men are. Let us understand what the vibe of the MCU's approach to the X-Men are, because I'm not trying to go into it feeling like this is just following up on the Bryan Singer movies. And bring Tiana Paris back. Don't play with me, okay?
Right.
I want Leona Lynch back too.
Oh yeah, bring her back too. That would be what I would say, because I think also that allows you to stretch out what you're doing, and it does give you like an in-game-ish target without it being so telegraphed as to like what's gonna happen. Because who cares who the people who care? Like the whole thing about it is, everybody doesn't survive when these worlds like converge and there's only one left. Everybody doesn't make it, because some people's doppelgangers is like on WandaVision, where it's like, I just look like the other Quicksilver. I ain't fast, but she thought I was him because she dream walked into another universe and saw the universe where I was a mutant, and so then she put me in her little sick, twisted fantasy. So I think that in order for us to care about who makes it and who doesn't, just like in Endgame, we got to spend a lot of time with these characters. We got to go on a lot of adventures with these characters, so that when somebody don't make it, we feel like it's a loss. Like that Fantastic Four
97
movie
is not required viewing.
right? Like Vanessa Kirby's character, dying and coming back at the end of Fantastic Four was only that emotional because of the journey we went on with her through the movie. We literally start the movie with her finding out she's pregnant, and we end the movie with her literally sacrificing her life to save her child and the planet. She doesn't choose between the two. She gives herself up for the cause. That means nothing if that movie is not focused on Sue's relationship of being like the heart and soul of the Fantastic Four. And I think like those are the types of stories that you're going to have to tell to get us to resonate with these characters that you're going to be introducing moving forward in order for us to care about them in a Infinity War and an Endgame kind of way. If Channing Tatum turn to dust, give me a dustpan and a broom. I'll sweep him right on up. Right. Need a dustbuster.
I was gonna say you wouldn't even get the dustpan. You just a fan.
Just open the door.
Let me get this little piece of envelope. We're gonna do it like grandma. Get this little piece of envelope real quick.
Right.
Where them fans at?
All right. RG, were there any more comments for Mr. Feige that you had?
You know something? I feel like, are you ready, folks? This is bonus content. Here we go. So I got 2 movie ideas, but I'm going to speed run them so I don't take up a whole bunch of time. First movie is the X-Men and how to get the X-Men in here. So here's what you do. You introduce a world where mutants already exist, right? You have people protesting them, and when we have a team of mutants, we have people protesting certain mutants that they see out in the street. You have another team of mutants come save them. That'll be our X-Men. Nothing over dramatic, just something real smooth, sweep in there, save them. And these X-Men would be Professor X, Beast, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, and Iceman. Those would be the X-Men that we have in this. Now, the storyline that I think they should take it from is I think they should take it from X-Men 1, Jim Lee's X-Men 1, okay? So give us a Magneto, but instead of Brotherhood of Mutants, we get the Acolytes.
Okay.
Why? Much more expendable type bad guys.
Yeah.
Right?
The Cortez can get the hell on.
There we go. We get them in there.
One and done.
The ones I feel they should have is him, right? His sister, Marco Delgado, and then Colossus. So we have one little redemption, somebody going over to the good side story, right? And then in the comic they had Nance Winters, who was brainwashed, but she was an agent from S.H.I.E.L.D. I think this is a way you put someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. on the Acolyte. This will be a nice little bridge into how we get Monica, Photon, involved, but not directly, not immediately. She's more cutscene material, right? So that's the Magneto story. That's the conflict right there. Magneto trying to steal nukes because he wants to build a sanctuary, some asteroid, and that's the main conflict right there of the movie. Can you pull this off? Yeah, you can pull it off. Like it can be done. With the same way they did Fantastic Four, you can pull off this many heroes quite well. Okay? Create a little bit of conflict between some of the heroes. Do not allude to Jean Grey being the Phoenix. There's no need for that. Just keep them
like
5 heroes that work together. Yeah, slow down. We don't need to see that.
Simple X-Men story.
Yes.
Right.
And you do that, we'll be fine. Right? Then the next movie I want to see, Avengers versus New Avengers. Now this is sort of a secondary into Doomsday or post-Doomsday. Yeah, post-Doomsday, right? So what you have is Falcon, Winter Soldier, Valkyrie, Ant-Man, and Doctor Strange as the pseudo-Avengers, right? And what they're doing is they're actually investigating this incursion into the universe. But the incursion is just a molecule man, a scaled-down molecule man. He's coming into that universe, causing a whole bunch of problems, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to get him. He's actually searching for the Darkhold. He's popping through universes trying to find the Darkhold because there's Darkhold energy in this universe. So he stops here while that set of Avengers is trying to investigate him. You have the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts, who America has said, hey, y'all need to find out what's going on here. As part of that, they clash. Little bullshit clash, right? But they clash. And somehow in the middle of that clash, we get Molecule Man to pop up again. He's the bigger threat. We got to work together. Let's work together because he's really super powerful. Because even Sentry would actually would have problems with Molecule Man. Have them go together, but they have to work together. Do something crazy. I don't know what it is, but they beat him, right? They don't kill him, but they wind up transferring him back to his universe, the last universe where he came from, with some evidence of the Darkhold energy that was existing there. And who does he pop back to? He pops back to Doom. Doom deceived him and made him think that, hey, if you get this book, I can cure you. Owen Reese kind of like really didn't want to be Molecule Man. He kind of had those issues. So you can make it that Doom tells him he can help him out. And, he can fix him. But when he comes back, Doom kills him after taking the evidence about the Darkhold. And then you can let this whole Doom the next portion of Doom, or a secondary part of Doomsday. I don't know where Doomsday is going or how it leads to Secret Wars, but this could be his search for expanding his power. Fantastic Four, all you really got to do to make Fantastic Four better is just create a little bit more inner conflict. That's it. You just got to have them beef with each other a little bit. They're a little too nice to each other, a little too perfect. Just have them beef with each other a little bit. That's all you got to do. You wrote them pretty good. Their story, we like the family aspect. We do love it. But families beef, right? So we got to see them beef a little bit with each other. Those two things, X-Men and Avengers versus New Avengers, you're fucking welcome. There you go.
I have notes. Not negative, just little tweaks. We got to move Bucky to New Avengers and substitute somebody in, because if this is post Thunderbolts, Bucky is New Avenger. He can't be an Avenger with Falcon. That was actually one of the conversations in the cutscene. But
so he's going Thunderbolts? He's joining Thunderbolts?
Yeah.
Well, remember, Thunderbolts is New Avengers.
Yeah, he is.
So he is. Oh, he is on that squad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right,
Bucky is New Avengers. But I'm still with you as far as we still have a few people that we can use, and some of them even having previously worked together. Hawkeye may be retired, but this is a perfect situation for him to come out of retirement to jump in. And of course, he's
we got a Hawkeye already.
Hold on. This is a perfect opportunity. Hawkeye is retired. This is the kind of thing that can bring him out. And this gives us the very clear and official Avenger status passing of the torch. You would be able to bring in Kate Bishop.
Miss Marvel.
You would be able to bring in Miss Marvel. And you get a team of young and upcoming heroes led by Sam Wilson.
Get your own goddamn movie, Sam. Just get your own movie.
No,
get out my writer's room with that. Do your own movie.
Okay, we could just shoot yours down because you put Bucky on the wrong spot. But no, I mean, otherwise, everything else I can get with. I like that. You have, I definitely think because I love the X-Men pitch. Period. I'm with you because I'm like, thank you. Just give us X-Men.
Keep it self-contained. It doesn't. That's the whole thing. Like, it gets to a point where you start building a house of cards when everything has to be like connected and touching. And I think that was like why I was saying, like, don't make everything have to automatically like converge. It's like all the movie pitches you pitching, this makes sense. Like, these people already live on the same world, so it makes sense that they would be like fighting together. You haven't shown us no X-Men, and like you got 38 chairs, and some of them are people who we thought we were like done with. Like, why were we seeing Closing Time or Had the Time of Our Life or whatever we did at the end of Deadpool if these people coming right back for Avengers? So I agree with all that, and I think that, like, I'm one of those people where I trust in Kevin Feige. I think if you do a overlay of the timeline of when things went wrong is around when he left and was hands off, and when things started getting back on track is around when he came back. So I'm personally not worried about Kevin Feige's ability to read the room per se and understand like what the consumer is looking for across multiple like quadrants. So not just the comic book fan, but also the casual fan, the movie going fan, kids, family, all that stuff like that. I think that has been his legacy of building Marvel's entertainment division into one that has something for everyone, versus when we were growing up, it kind of was like, right now they're focused on cartoons. Right now they're focused on Spider-Man movies. Now they're focused on X-Men movies. He's kind of been able to say, like, we need to be able to focus on all these things at the same time and provide enough love for each one to keep the consumer satisfied, create some kids who grow up to be teens and tweens who are Marvel fans who can graduate from cartoons into the movies. So, yeah, this
I
has
want
been
to see a series of what Sam proposed with Ironheart, Miss Marvel,
Young
and
Avengers.
Young Avengers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see.
No, Jeff and I've been asking for Young Avengers for a while. I thought they was going that way. Still waiting to see what's going to happen.
But I feel like they should. They've set themselves up enough for a show now.
Oh yeah, clearly.
They can comfortably, if that was a TV series, I feel like that would bump. You know what I'm saying? You just have to do more than fucking 8 episodes. So
that's
probably
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's the streaming formula.
That's the other thing, Kevin. Can we get more than 8 episodes? How's that?
Now that might be something, honestly, that's above his pay grade. Because then once you get into a certain number of episodes, I'll say this: if you want it to be just one and done season, then like he could probably get 10 to 13. But if you're talking about creating a series where you want it to come back again, they're gonna do less episodes because once you hit a certain amount of episodes, acting is a union job, and after a certain amount of work, the pay goes up. And I can probably guarantee whatever them Young Avengers is getting paid from Marvel ain't that much.
True.
Not compared to the old Avengers.
Yeah.
In fact, everybody coming back for Endgame.
We ain't making this mistake twice. Put y'all on rookie contracts.
I've got one thought for the chairs, and I feel like this is somewhat obvious for comic book movie viewers. When we saw the big long list of chairs, and given some of the chairs that we saw, where they came from, where these people are, obviously something is happening where everything's going to be drawn in like a black hole, sucked into this one place, and things are going to happen there, and battles are going to take place, and not everybody going to make it. Looking at those chairs, one of the things that came to mind was some of the promo and early advertisement for James Gunn's Suicide Squad, because that opening roster, it was like 40 villains right there on the beach. They had 2 squads. The entire first squad got wiped out, and a lot of the second squad. We see these people, but it does kind of make me wonder, like, just how significant will those roles be? And when we saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and we got to see the return of a lot of people, those people had enough happen, for the most part, had enough happen on their own to warrant and justify their return. I think everybody had, well, with one exception, everybody had 2 movies.
Mm-hmm. With one major exception.
And so with everybody having, technically X-23, she only has the one. You know what I'm saying? But hers was such an impactful that it kind of feels like 2. Mm-hmm. It was like we had enough of attachment to those people. And I remember when I was listening to The Last Therapy, we can all kind of dump on the Bryan Singer X-Men movies now. But at the time, that was the hottest thing out because we had live action X-Men. Mm-hmm. And in that time, in that era, you know what I'm saying? Like we were even laughing like, well, we're going to have... You think we're going to have on yellow spandex? He made the joke. And then, of course, we come back. It's like, you actually can do comic accurate costumes. It does work. We're okay with it. But I do think for the time, it would have been maybe a little silly. It would have looked a little funny on screen. Knowing that we have all of these characters, obviously, we've gotten to the point, it's like, don't get too attached to anybody. And maybe you see somebody on screen, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of these people are just like no lines. You're just seeing them there, and then they won't be there anymore. Something's happened, blip or snap or whatever the case may be. They'll be in, you'll get to see them, and they're gone. It'll be the Kelsey Grammer cameo in Deadpool where he's like,
right, like they're all in the room.
Closes the door. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, didn't say a word. Probably did it as a favor for free. You know what I'm saying? Because he had no lines, so they didn't have to do any kind of close that door. And I'm wondering here, because there are a lot of people on that list of chairs, and everybody can't have impact. especially given that some of them had nothing to do with Endgame or Infinity War. Their situation was so long ago, some people weren't even going to, you know what I'm saying? There's going to be people who have seen the MCU but have never seen the original X-Men movies just because of how old they are when they started watching. You know what I'm saying? And by the time these new movies come out, they've invested, maybe they caught up on a few things. But, you know, it's hard to go back and look at some of the older comic book content because technology wasn't then what it is now. So some of it could be a little hard to watch. It just,
I agree with all that.
Maybe think of the James Gunn Suicide Squad and a lot of those folks was just there.
Marvel has, you know, they're no stranger to misdirecting the audience through promotional materials. So, you know, for all the Mephisto fans who been waiting on that since WandaVision, for all the people who thought Hulk was going to be running through Wakanda and it was just the Hulk Buster suit, you know, we've all been led astray, run amok, yeah. So yeah, I think
MCU did land on me.
Yeah, I think this has been a good conversation moving forward. I feel like shit ain't nothing coming out. We might have to do this in another 2 years because we come back next year. There's only gonna be one more movie probably by that point. So, you know, we got some other IP we need to put on the couch for sure. We got love for all IP that seeks to bring people to the superhero genre. So just a little friendly joshing between the big two, but a strong DC is good for Marvel. A strong Marvel is good for DC, and you know,
a strong Marvel and DC is good for all the other content that's out there.
Facts.
Whether it be, you know, Jupiter's Legacy, Super Crooks. Now, some of this other stuff got to be good because we ain't going with no more Vin Diesel with Bloodshot. Like, you know.
Hell no.
Oh yeah, no.
Nah.
But I mean,
we gotta, you know what? We gotta put together the Star Trek episode. We gotta do that. That's the IP. That's the therapy episode we've been trying to figure out for a while. We gotta put that together because this has been great. I appreciate you guys all coming out and joining me on this evening. Again, please like, subscribe. I hope you left some comments. Here's a comment prompt. What would you say if you were in a room with Kevin Feige? What was the one thing you would tell him in order to help improve the MCU? And for all the haters, you know, just quit or whatever. Yeah, save that comment for one of those channels where they're not constructive and don't actually want the stuff to be good.
I want the smoke. So if you hate, come on and let's go. Comment all you want because I comment back, bitch.
I was about to say, do know that we read the comments and we talk back.
That is RG, aka Cash the Pro on Instagram. You can direct all hate and smoke.
The opinions of RG do not reflect the opinions of the rest of the Grown A Geeks channel.
It's actually on the disclaimer.
All right, cool. So yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends, hit the QR code, join the Facebook group, and all that goodness. For Jeffrey, which is me, Teresa, RG, and Sam, I'm Jeffrey. This has been Therapy. Peace.